Hello and welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. So in today's video, we are going to discuss something which is not exactly in current affairs, but this is a very interesting topic and we keep encountering this term again and again, that is clinical trials. Okay? So we are going to decode here what exactly is the procedure for clinical trials, who approves, who does not approve. Plus 2019 में there were certain changes introduced in the procedure for clinical trials. We'll be looking after those changes also and the phases of clinical trials carried out in India. Okay? So beginning with the regulations of clinical trial in India, 2019 में as we discussed, we have carried out certain changes in the procedure for clinical trials. So what do we exactly mean by this term clinical trial? Okay? So in most simple terms, what I can tell you is, let's say a new drug has been created by a pharma company. Okay? So then we carry out this procedure to test whether this drug is having the intended benefit to a person or not. For example, a new sugar medicine has been created. A person suffering from diabetes should be consuming this medicine. This has been declared by a pharma company, okay? Which is a new medicine. So first, under clinical trials, what do? Is we will get in contact with few diabetic patients and give them this kind of dosage, okay? And keep checking their sugar levels. Is it working fine? So are we able to improve the patient's condition or not? Are we able to reduce the glucose content in the blood or not? This we keep monitoring through various phases of clinical trial, and after finally carrying out the fourth and final phase, we say that the drug has been approved. Okay? So clinical trial is a study to generate data discovering or verifying a clinical profile. Clinical profile matlab, let's say कि this medicine has such and such therapeutic value, which is its clinical profile. Okay? So to verify the clinical profile or discover the clinical profile, a study is carried out. So we will give this medicine to certain patients, okay, and check their developments. So and we will be studying the developments of those patients, and that is what is the meaning of clinical trials. Okay? So this is the only way of establishing the safety and efficacy of any drug, India or abroad. Any drug that has been manufactured, usko prove karna ki yes, this drug is applicable and can be given to patients for any particular, let's say, particular disease or disorder. If you have to carry out this kind of research and prove that this medicine is correct for this kind of patient, this is the only procedure, this is the only process method that you have in your hands. Okay? India में clinical trial is governed by the Medical Council of India 1956. It is also governed by Drugs and Cosmetics Acts of 1940 and the Central Council for Indian Medicine. So there are three regulators, two act and one body, which acts as the regulator, which will be the approval body for clinical trial. Okay? What is the prerequisite to conduct the clinical trial? First of all, a person will have to register to Indian Council of Medical Research. ICMR में mandatory registration has to be carried out, and then the person will be getting, the organization pharma company will be getting an approval from DCGI that yes, you can proceed with carrying out clinical trials. Okay? Approval from respective ethics committee. So every state has its own ethics committee. Okay? Of that state, they should also be approving that yes, in my state you can carry out this drug ka clinical trial. So ethics committee of that state will have to approve carrying out a clinical trial in that area. Okay? So these were the discussions related to the regulation part. Okay? Now, India में drugs and clinical trials were amended in 2019. Okay? The focus will be we need to promote the clinical research, development of drugs within the premises of India, within India's domestic territory. इसको promote करने के लिए we have made certain changes in 2019. Okay? So what are the changes that has been introduced in the new rule? First of all, we have reduced the time for approval of application. So once the clinical trial के लिए application has been submitted, there was initially 90 days period which was given for any drug which was manufactured in India and 120 days which were given to foreign drug. This we have been bringing down. For example, I as a pharma company has registered to Drug Controller General of India stating that audited, then Drug Controller General of India initially had 90 days of time period to approve my application, but this now has been shortened into 30 days only. Okay. Second, if there is no response from Drug Controller General of India, okay, Drug Controller General of India, who is the chairman of Central Licensing Authority. Central Licensing Authority is finally the body that will approve the application that yes, you can carry out clinical trial. The Central Licensing Authority के top पे the chairperson is Drug Controller General of India. Okay? If the pharma company is not getting any response from Drug Controller General of India in a period of 30 days, the application will be considered approved. Okay? In that case, the application will be considered approved. Plus, death, disability or injury to the trial subject के लिए, what will be the penalty that has to be paid by the pharma company? For example, clinical trial has been carried out with respect to a diabetes का drug, ठीक है? And if a person suffers from, let's say, the inflammation of some part of the body, so this is an injury to the trial subject. So in that case, pharma company will have to give some kind of compensation, ठीक है? How much will be the compensation amount? That is to be decided by Drug Controller General of India, okay? Plus, requirement of local clinical trial has to be waived off. For example, then let's say there are 10 countries, G7 countries, ठीक है? G7 countries are listed in the Drug Controller General of India के approved nations में G7 countries are enlisted. That means if this drug is being used in these G7 countries, ठीक है? So then you can do it without carrying out a clinical trial in India. So the requirement of local clinical trial has been waived off if it is in use of these Drug Controller General of India के approved nations में, ठीक है? And in case of injury to any trial subject, the medical services that will be provided to that subject, ठीक है? All these medical services, कि how long we will be providing you the medical services, all of this will be decided as per the investigator, ठीक है? So there will be an investigation team who will be deciding कि आपको कितने दिनों तक medical services provide किए जाएंगी if you have faced some kind of injury or some kind of disease because of my medicine, ठीक है? So for that, investigator will be set up and the investigating authority will be letting you know कि आपको medical services कितने दिन तक provide किए जाएंगे, ठीक है? Now talking about the phases of clinical trials in India, there are 4 phases of clinical trial. Phase 1 में a minimum of 2 healthy informed volunteers. Healthy and informed volunteers first of all we will check whether the person is able to tolerate this medicine or not. Tolerated by patient's body and behaves in a desired way. ठीक है? This must be carried out in continuous supervision of doctors. So these patients must keep visiting the doctor regularly. ठीक है? Second phase में 10 to 12 informed volunteers में this will be checked कि are we having some kind of unacceptable side effects. So some kind of inflammation of body, increase in blood pressure, decrease in blood pressure, increase in sugar levels, redness of eye, rashes on skin. All of these are side effects which is to be tested in 10 to 12 informed volunteers in second phase. A minimum of 10 to 12 informed volunteers. Phase 3 में approximately 1000 to 3000 subjects के साथ एक confirmatory trial is carried out. Confirmation कि safety and efficacy, the drug is all safe, no side effects and it is able to give us the desired value. For example, diabetes को कम करने के लिए, so is it able to reduce the glucose level in blood or not? ठीक है? Plus comparison of placebo versus standard drug. So placebo drug is a kind of drug which is just told to the patient, see I am giving you this medicine, ठीक है? And this will reduce your sugar levels. But it may not happen. This is known as a placebo drug, ठीक है? So placebo drug usually contains water or simple salt electrolyte solution. So that is a placebo drug. So placebo drug is also given to a person and a standard drug is also given to a person. And then we compare whether the development is because of the placebo drug or whether the development is actually taking place because of the standard drug or not. ठीक है? And which is the 4th and final phase. After this, the medicine is released, given to the doctors. ठीक है? And then the surveillance is done continuously. These many patients को we have given such and such new drugs. ठीक है? Surveillance after the doctor has started prescribing the medicine. Are we witnessing any kind of changes in blood sugar levels or changes in, for example, AstraZeneca के case में we have observed that the platelet level came down. ठीक है? बाद, this took place after the phase 4 clinical trials. Okay? So this has to be carried out in phase 4 clinical trial. That surveillance has to be done, and doctors must keep monitoring. Yeah, I have given patients to these person. Okay, doctor has prescribed the medicine. Are we getting any negative reports coming from these patients? So that has to be checked. Okay? And this is the fourth and the final phase of the clinical trial. Now, what are the issues existing in the clinical trial? Okay? First and foremost, the kind of community we are carrying out clinical trials. Okay? This is mostly the low income groups. Over representation of low income groups in the trial subject. Okay? And the motive is financial for them, because they will be getting money for giving them their body as a test body. They get money. Okay? So financial motive is the most important intention with which a person agrees to be a trial subject. Okay? Point number 2. Consent to the participant in the trial at times is not covered. Okay? So for example, a person has approved that yes, you can try out this new drug on my body. For that, they have to sign a consent application. Many a times we have observed that this consent application has not been signed. Okay? Third is ethics committee. Ethics committee not constituted or not very well trained. Okay? In majority of the states, either ethics committee is missing at all, or even if it is present, they are not very well trained to talk to the people, the trial subjects. Okay? Plus, India has signed the Declaration of Helsinki, which is voluntary in nature. So there is no binding across the world. Internationally, there is no standards which is set. This will be the regulatory mechanism. This is the manner in which clinical trial has to be carried out. Internationally, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. ठीक है? Plus compensation. This is the biggest bone of contention. कि how much amount of compensation in case of death, injury, or medical services that has to be provided to the trial subject. What is the compensation amount? What is the services that we are providing? This is the biggest bone of contention between the subjects of the clinical trial and the pharmaceutical company. Okay? So, and last and final problem is the regulatory failure. So, even if we have all these 4 phases, we are still seeing the lacuna in implementation of the rules of clinical trial. Okay? So these are the existing challenges associated to the clinical trials. Just talking quickly about the criticism of the new rules, although it is genuinely very, very good, because first of all, India is having a very high disease burden. So we have so many cardiovascular diseases, we have prevalence of non-communicable diseases, we do have rare diseases in India. Okay? So it is very important that we keep coming up with rules which makes clinical trial more transparent and a faster mechanism. Okay? But looking at the criticism of the new rules, first is proving injury that this injury has occurred because of your medicine only. This becomes very tough for the trial subject. Point number 1. Point number 2 is monopolistic clinical research organization की market. So we have a clinical research organization. Whenever a new drug is created by a pharmaceutical company, they will hire this clinical research organization. There are some 4-5 organizations, but these are the monopolistic organizations. Beyond this, it is not expanding. Okay? They have a good hold of LIG communities, low income group communities, and they will go, as soon as they have the drug, they will go and hand it over to LIG community and ask them to consume this drug. Okay? So currently, we have a monopolistic CRO market which is unaddressed as per the new rules also. The new rule did not keep a check that the clinical research organization have a monopolistic market, and we need to demonopolize this. Okay? Plus, waiver should be restricted to only urgent drugs, which is not the case in the new rules of 2019. That is also one of the very big problems associated to the new rules. Okay? Now with that, we come to the end of a very interesting topic, that is clinical trials, because we keep encountering, whenever we are discussing about or studying about any types of drugs,